I have Rusty working so hard, you guys. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else has problems digging with a post hole digger, but I cannot do it. Like, I don't have the muscles in the right places. So I've been digging the holes with that sharpshooter right there. Why are we digging holes?
Hi guys.
Welcome back to Robertson's Belly Acres.
Welcome, welcome.
Look, Rusty is the king of multitasking. He has David with Come On Homesteading live going in his pocket so he can listen.
More on this thing.
Hey,
Come
guys.
on with the come on.
Oh, there you is. And he's digging holes and he's cooking us some killer supper over here. So those are the last of the pork chops from our pigs that we took this last winter. So look at the size of those. They've been marinating all day. All right, you guys. So now let's talk about what all the holes are for. We've got the holes dug. We've dug 16 holes in total because we are doing an experiment. So if you've been following our channel, you know that we were gifted a ton of tomato plants from Rusty's work. So we have not had a chance to plant all these tomato plants, and some of them are doing great and some of them aren't doing so well. But they all come from the same greenhouse. So we're gonna do a series here. I've got a bunch of Rutgers tomatoes here. Rutgers are good tomatoes. They are not a real big beefy kind of tomato. They're more of a smaller tomato, but not like a paste tomato. So they're right there in the middle, and I thought these would be a good variety to try this with. So I started doing research, and some of it comes from old timers, some of it comes from books, some of it comes from searching on the internet. So what I wanted to do is I want to plant these tomatoes all at the same time, all in the same kind of dirt. None of this dirt has been amended. This is just tilled up right here in our backyard, and it's not been amended. But when I plant them, I want to amend the soil with different things that I have either heard or researched that makes you have the best tomatoes. I'm gonna start with what my mom always used. Anytime my mom transplanted plants, or if she, you know, even when she was just planting, she always turned to Miracle-Gro. So it's just plant food. It looks like Kool-Aid. We always used to call it blue Kool-Aid. This one I left out in the rain a little bit. But before I did that, I did mix up a full 2 gallons. I think that's a 2 gallon. Anyway, I mixed up some blue Kool-Aid. So then that way we can do plants. We're gonna plant 4 of those using Miracle-Gro. So this was my mom's tried and true thing. She used Miracle-Gro for everything she planted, including tomatoes. These tomatoes are not in great shape, and they got pummeled by the storm the other day. We were actually going to do this the other day when the storm blew in, but see, they're root bound and some of these are not looking great. But I'm going to prune them as best I can and put them in the ground. We did dig all of the holes at least 10 inches deep, and the reason you want to do that, especially when you have tomatoes that are not doing great, those look really sad, but I'll probably use those last. But let me show you some of these others. Ooh, calm down there. So some of them are looking all right. These have tried to die and have come back, so they're fighters. Rutgers are pretty hardy tomatoes anyway, and I think that's why it's good to try it with these. But when you're planting tomatoes, you should plant them deep. Actually, my brother, Jimmy, I call him Cricket, but Jimmy, he and I grew up together. We're like a year and a half apart, he told me that he plants all of his tomatoes and his peppers so deep that he only leaves about this much sticking out to create a better root system. Well then, after I started watching Roots and Refuge and some of the other big gardening channels, you do learn that the reason you plant them so deep is because they will, let me see if I can show you this. If they are subjected to the soil, they will grow more roots. I don't know if you can see that right there where it's growing more roots, and they will, if they happen to lay down, they will make more nodules and they'll make more roots, you know, because tomatoes don't, in the wild, they don't naturally grow standing up. We train them to grow standing up. So they are a vining plant, so they grow across the ground. And so all of the stem will create roots. So then that way it just roots just like a vine plant. So if you bury them deep, all you are doing is creating a better root system, because all of this will grow roots as well. So instead of having this shallow root, you have a root system where it's just grown out and it creates a better stalk, it creates a better plant altogether. So all of the holes are at least 10 inches deep. We didn't go in with a tape measure, but they are all dug with either the sharpshooter or the post hole digger, and we just made sure that they were all pretty uniform. The second thing that I want to try, because it's nostalgic to me, is fish. So I read Fried Green Tomatoes at Whistle Stop Cafe. First I watched the movie and then I read the book. So of course the book goes way more into things than the movie does. In the movie they do mention at some point that Sipsy would bury fish heads out underneath her tomatoes and grow the most beautiful tomatoes. Now in the book it goes a little bit further than that, and it talks about Sipsy burying any animal head that came into her kitchen, because she believed that if the head was still attached to the animal she was cooking, the spirit would come back and haunt her. So she would chop the head off and take it out to her garden and bury it underneath her in her garden. And it didn't, I don't think in the book it specified rather if it was tomatoes or not, but they did talk about how great her tomatoes were because of fried green tomatoes, and in the book and in the movie. So I do not have a fishing license, nor did I have time to go out and try to catch fish. Or Rusty, bless his heart, he'd love to be able to go fishing. It's just, we're always so busy. We need to make time. We need to make time. And I keep telling them that what we need to do is we need to, between you and me, we won't tell him this, but we need to convince Rusty that fishing is part of homesteading, because it is. It provides food. It provides nutrients for our garden. It is part of, and it provides mental peace. So once we can convince them of that, you guys help me out. We can do this. The best I could do, you guys, was I went to Walmart and I bought tilapia fillets. So they're just little individually packaged fillets with tilapia. And then I put them in my food processor and I chopped them up. This was last week when I chopped these up. And Rusty just said something that blew my mind, but he's like, I just hope that your food processor, the bowl doesn't stink forever. So I may need a new food processor. But anyway, I chopped it up, and then the storm hit and I wasn't able to finish this video, so I just put it in the refrigerator because I did know that I wanted to do a video. So we are going to put a serving spoon of fish in the bottom of the next 4 plants and see what happens. Lynn did have a good point. She said, do you think with it, because without having the blood that you would have with a fish head, do you think it'll work the same? The answer to that is I have no idea. So we're gonna try it with these tilapia fillets that I have chopped up. I'm pretty sure this is pretty stinky now since it's been sitting in my refrigerator over the week, probably 4 or 5 days. I haven't opened it yet, but what I have learned with plants is that the stinkier the better. So there's those. The next 4 that I am going to plant, we're going to plant 16 plants in this experiment. Okay, they're all Rutgers. The next 4 that we are going to plant, what I did is I researched online what you could do from home to grow the best tomatoes. And I kind of just ranked it from the most popular to, you know, and kind of got in the forums and read what different people say they've done and whatever. And the consensus really was good compost. So I researched good compost for tomatoes, and somebody had said you could take coffee grounds, eggshells, and earthworm castings. So Russ and I went in search of earthworm castings. What is that? So we have had something getting in our coop and eating our eggs again. If you guys have ever watched the skunk saga on when we lived out on the farm, I'm like, oh no, it's deja vu. And it sounds like there's something over there in the chicken run. So Rusty went to go see what's up. And I'm blind, I can't see far. Anyway, was it anything? So we went back to Orscheln's, and what we did find was this compost. So this is Happy Frog. A lot of you are probably very familiar with Happy Frog. Happy Frog is a very good product. No, we are not paid by Happy Frog. I wish, wouldn't that be great? That would be a great sponsorship, Happy Frog. So Happy Frog is amazing. It's great compost, it's great soil. This one in particular, the reason we chose this one is because it is derived from, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it is derived from earthworm castings, bat guano, and oyster shells, and dolomite lime. It has a lot of really great nutrients in it. And you know, look, Mayday's been trying to eat my Happy Frog. Anyway, that's it's a great compost. We have not been on this homestead long enough to build our compost, but if you watch one of our last videos, I don't know, of the great haul, we have a pretty good jump on our compost. So it's awesome to be able to buy something that has all the nutrients that that we were looking for. So the next 4, he wants to be in the next 4 will be, we will put of this in the bottom of the hole of each hole, and then we'll plant those. And then the last 4 we are going to use as a control group. So those last 4, we are not going to amend the soil at all. Now we'll probably put some of the mulch or some of the straw around them, just like we're going to put around the rest of everything. But we're not going to amend the soil at all. We're not going to put anything in the soil. Please, please, please put your tried and true thing that you do, that maybe your grandma did, or your mom did, or your dad did, or your grandpa did, or something that you figured out on your own. Something that's tried and true that you have done that actually just gives you the best tomatoes every year. Oh my gosh. These are looking bomb.com. Okay, so my first thought here is that at 10 inches, that's pretty deep for some of these. And like I said, that's a guesstimated 10. To the top is about there, so yeah. So look how root bound they are. So you definitely want to be as easy as you can on the little roots, so you don't send them into shock here. The good thing about these little flimsy, this little flimsy packaging is that it's just that flimsy, and it comes apart really easy. But see, we got a whole big ball of roots right here. So I'll kind of try to take that apart. So if I put this all the way down in here, I'm going to have to trim these bottom limbs, or the bottom few little and where it looks like, oh my gosh, that's crazy, it will be good in the long run. So you can tell these need water really bad. You know, I was thinking I need to make some markers so I remember. Look at that blue Kool-Aid. So I remember what I put where, but that's the magic of being a YouTuber, is that I can always look back on the video. So these first 4 are Miracle-Gro. So these are the ones I'm gonna call Mama's tomatoes, because that's what my mom used when she used to plant tomatoes. So these first 4, I'm not putting any different kind of soil in it. I'm just burying it right here in this. And by burying it so far down, it's also going to give it that support. And then I will come back and water everything afterwards, but for right now, I dumped about a cup of Miracle-Gro. As my mom would say, just dump until it feels right. Just put in there until it feels right. It's the same way we cook. Okay, do you see this right here? This teeny tiny bloom, it's wanting to bloom. So when you first transplant, you definitely want to cut off any blooms, because you want your plant to focus on growing rather than on growing those blooms. So we just take that little bloom off, and as my mom would say, nombre de Dios. Here we go. So those first 4, I've dubbed them Mama's tomatoes. We used Miracle-Gro. These next 4, we're going to use fish, like Sipsy did on fried green tomatoes. So I'm going to call these Sipsy's tomatoes. Now this fish, I'm sure, smells so good since it's been sitting in my refrigerator for a week. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take 1 serving spoonful. Mayday smells it. He's like, oh, that smells amazing. And I am going to, again, tear this one out. So I've got that in there. I need to trim these off like I did with the Miracle-Gro ones. Okay, Mayday's going nuts. He can smell this fish. Once it starts to decompose, I know that I want the nutrients to get to the roots as fast as possible. Ugh, that stinks. Okay. Like I said before, the stinkier the better for the plants. Plants love stinky. So that may be why Sipsy's tomatoes did so well. And I know, you guys, that fried green tomatoes is a fictional story, but there are people that say that they use fish or fish heads, so I'm sure it has a true origin somewhere, anyway, regardless, we're gonna try it out. We're gonna plant, we're gonna use the Happy Frog. Y'all, I wish you could smell this compost. It smells so good, so good, and it's so rich. So I'll put this first one in here, and it looks like I'm gonna have to shore it up a little bit. So I'll shore it, so then that way the bottom leaves clear. Clear this, okay? And then I will put compost, and then I'll bury this inside the compost. So the root ball, I actually made a little well so I can bury it inside the compost before I bury it. So there you go. See how I have it buried inside the compost, and then I'll cover it with the dirt. All right, so there's the first one of the compost. I am just gonna call these the Happy Frog 4. Okay, so these last 4 are the control group. I'm not doing anything special to those last 4 holes. I'm just going to plant these in the soil that was already here, and I'm not amending it at all. So these are the last 4. All right, you guys, I got them all planted, and I am rapidly running out of daylight. So I am going to go and grab some straw to get my arms. I washed off my hands, but it's a messy business. What happens when your husband's tall? Is it that you're tall, or is it that I'm short?
I believe the fifth.
So I'm going to grab some of that straw that we picked up yesterday, and I'm going to, as well as I can, because it's getting dark and I can't see, I'm going to put it around all of my tomato plants. So I'm running out of daylight, but you can see I've ran out of daylight. You can see that I've covered everything with compost. I haven't finished. I'm going to have to finish in the morning. Okay, so I'm going to cover all 16 plants with that same compost or mulch in the morning. That's going to help with weed control. It's also going to help because it will break down nutrients for the tomatoes. So I am helping everything along a little bit more with this mulch, but everything, all 16 plants will get the same treatment in that aspect. So the first 4 are Mama's tomatoes. They are started with Miracle Grow. The next 4 are Sipsy's tomatoes. They are started with tilapia, with fish. The next 4 are Happy Frog tomatoes, and they are started with Happy Frog that has earthworm castings, bat guano, and oyster shells and lime. And then the next 4 are our control panel, and those 4 are just planted in the soil that was already here. We have not amended this soil. We have just moved on to this homestead this year, so there has been no amendment to this soil whatsoever. And we're just going to plant those. We just planted those without any amendment. The only amendment it will have is the compost that we're going to put on top, but we're going to put that on top for everything. All right, you guys, we are super excited about this this series that we're fixing to have. Yes. Super excited to see how it turns out. Like I said, it's late to plant tomatoes, but we are just planting what we have because we have to get it done. And we might as well do this experiment because so many people have that question. You know, what is it that makes them grow? What, you know, everybody has a secret. please don't forget to put your secret, maybe not your secret, but your tips in the comments, because I really want to know what everybody around the world does that's different. So
yeah, it'll be interesting at doing as much of a control group as we can.
Yeah.
You know, but it's going to be really cool. And as far as the late planning, we know it's late, but it's no different than succession planning.
That's true too. Only it's late succession.
Yeah, well, you know, we're the late Robertsons.
Well, it's fashionably, we're fashionably late.
Fashionably late.
So anyway, I hope you guys like our videos. If you do, please hit the like button.
Subscribe if you haven't already.
Yep, share with your friends.
Leave us some comments, you guys, and like Rachel said, if you've got some tried and true tricks to making your tomatoes bigger and better, leave them in the comments. Most of all, don't forget to smash that bell and get notified of the next new video when it comes out.
Yep, until next time, you guys. God bless.
See ya. There
Get
we
it
go.
together, Rusty. Get it together.
Oh,
It's got a good shot on you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of sun today. it
You
looks
did
like.
get some sun.
Oh, wow.